We appreciate your attendance at Fall Workshop 2020. Here is a rough itinerary for the morning. We ask that you take a picture of it so you can attend workshops accordingly. Furthermore, we encourage you to keep the YouTube Premiere open so that timings align.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Grayson Harris, and I am your Area 3 VP of Texas FBLA. Your 2020 FBLA Fall Leadership Conference is officially in session.
Welcome Areas 2, 3, 4, and 5 to the 2020 Fall Workshop. My name is Tabina Hassan, your State Area 5 Vice President and a senior at Seven Lakes High School. Though this year's Fall Workshop is set up differently than what we are used to, we hope you will enjoy our interactive workshops and various guest speakers, as well as the opportunity to network across areas. I would also like to recognize our state officers in attendance today. If you would like, you can comment in the chat box as I mention your name. Lisa Liu, State Secretary, Lynn Nee, State Reporter Historian, and Karma Haltom, State Parliamentarian. At this time, I would also like to introduce your Area 5 officers. You may also comment in the chat box as I mention your name. Tiffany Nguyen, Area 5 President, Shalini Kumar, Area 5 Vice President, Mihir Bhatia, Area 5 Secretary, Nitya Raghavan, Area 5 Treasurer, Emma Donaldson, Area 5 Reporter Historian, and Karma Haltom, Area 5 Parliamentarian. I would like to introduce our Area 5 Vice President, Shalini Kumar, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Shalini. Now please welcome our Area 5 Vice President, Tiffany Nguyen, for our invocation.
Please bow your heads for our invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, we are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen.
Thank you, Tiffany. Now please welcome our state historian, Lynn Nee, as she guides us through the FBLA Pledge.
The pledge goes as follows. I solemnly promise to uphold the aims and responsibilities of future business leaders of America, Phi Beta Lambda. And as an active member, I shall strive to develop the qualities necessary in becoming a responsible business leader.
Thank you, Lynn. Now join me as we recite the FBLA Creed as best as you can from home. I believe education is the right of every person. I believe the future depends on mutual understanding and cooperation among business, industry, labor, religious, family, and educational institutions, as well as people around the world. I agree to do my utmost to bring about understanding and cooperation among all of these groups. I believe every person should prepare for a useful occupation and carry on that occupation in a manner that brings the greatest good to the greatest number. I believe every person should actively work toward improving social, political, community, and family life. I believe every person has the right to earn a living at a useful occupation. I believe every person should take responsibility for carrying out assigned tasks in a manner that brings credit to self, associates, school, and community. I believe I have the responsibility to work efficiently and to think clearly. I promise to use my abilities to make the world a better place for everyone.
Thank you, Tavina. Hi, I'm Amina Rose, your Area 4 Vice President. Evan Carmichael is an international motivational speaker and entrepreneur. He got his start as an entrepreneur when he was just 19 years old, building his own biotech software company. Then at 22 years of age, he became a venture capitalist, helping companies raise $500
Let's start off with like a couple of personal questions. I want to know, like, as a successful entrepreneur, what's your advice to younger people who are seeking to be an entrepreneur, especially because when you're young, it feels like you don't have access to a lot of the same resources that adults do.
Just start. Like whatever your big idea is, to find a smaller way to get started. So if you focus on what you don't have, you're never going to win. If you focus on what you can do with what you do have, that's always a path. So sure, adults might have more money or more education or more resources or more connections, but they also have a home and a mortgage and a job that they're afraid to leave and a family to look after and all these responsibilities. Adults are saying the same thing about themselves. They say, oh, I wish I was young and I could just start my business and I have all these responsibilities, right? So stop looking at the negative side of what you don't have and focus instead on what you can do with what you do have. And there's always a smaller way to get started. Whatever your big idea is, there's always a smaller way to get started, and you should start right now.
So Forbes magazine named you one of the best speakers on the planet. So what motivated you to choose this career path, and like who were some of the people who inspired you along the way?
So I never really planned on being a speaker. I'm introverted. I'm shy. I don't like the limelight. I don't need to be famous, but I like helping and I like serving. And I think that's within all of us. You want to help. You want to feel like when you're getting up and you're about to go do something, that it has meaning, it has value. And it's why a lot of people struggle, young people struggle with school, is because you feel like you're just memorizing something that is not going to be very helpful or valuable. You want to feel like the work you do matters. And so a lot of adults, the same thing. Like a lot of adults wake up and just drive to a job that they hate and they're not getting respected and it's just meaningless. And so I wanted to create something for myself that brought value to people. And that started with my website, and that became my YouTube channel, and then that transitioned into speaking opportunities. Because if you have a chance to help somebody, you should take it. And so if I get a chance to do this interview and somebody resonates with it, I'm going to try to take it. If I get a chance to go speak on a stage and there's 2,000 people out in the audience and maybe my message can connect with somebody, I'm going to try to take it. And so it's really just about having an impact and feeling like what you're doing actually means something to somebody.
You just said you were an introvert. So how were you able to get over that in order to pursue like this, this desire to help others?
Yeah, this is a big fight, I guess, that I kept getting into with my agent. So I have an agent, he's in New York, and he tries to book me out on book tours and speaking gigs and partnerships. And he said, Evan, you know, your problem is you don't want to be famous. Like, why is that a problem? Yeah, I don't want to be famous. That's not my goal. I want to, I want to help. And we fought for a couple of years on it until he finally said, hey, the more people know you, the more you can actually help. If nobody knows who you are, then you can't get your message out there and help people. So when I go and speak on stage, I'm always scared before going on stage. My heart's always beating. I'm always afraid I'm going to disappoint people. But what it does is actually create the setup for afterwards where I'm talking to people in the hallway. So I'm an introvert. I'll never go up. If I saw you in the hallway, I would never go up and say, hey, how are you? I'm Evan. Great to meet you. Why are you here? I would never do that. I don't talk to people on the airplane beside me, nobody. But if I speak on stage, then people come up to me afterwards and say, hey, Evan, I had a question for you. And I love that. So the thing I had to wrap my head around was that just because you're introverted doesn't mean you don't want to help. Doesn't mean you don't want to serve. Doesn't mean that you don't want to bring value and feel like, again, the work you're doing is important. So that was like, hopefully the people watching this, if you're an introvert, you can get there a lot faster than I did. I'm 40 now. It took me a while to kind of figure that part out. But introverts are great listeners. Introverts are very caring. Introverts, you don't need to be in the spotlight, so you can put the spotlight on other people to help them. And just, again, leaning in on your strengths instead of figuring out all the things that you suck at and not good at and are being and you're jealous that other people have these characteristics.
That's really interesting perspective. So aside from this, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced, like in your business ventures, including like the software company that you started?
The biggest struggle is always a lack of belief. You know, it's like believing that you can do it, believing that it will work out, believing that you have even if you don't have the skill sets now, that you can develop them to get to where you want to go. Because if you want to change your life, it has to start with thinking that you can change your life, believing that you can change your life. Otherwise, you end up stuck kind of where you are. So, you know, if you look at what your parents are doing, then you know how to get to that path. You can follow their path and do the same thing. It doesn't require a lot of belief. If you want to do something different, if you want to create something brand new, then you have to believe in a different path. I had do you know Ali Brooke?
No.
So she was from Fifth Harmony, the music group, and then kind of broke off and did her own singing now. But same thing, like if you're the first in your family to go off and do something, it's hard. And you know, she's the first one to become a musician, the first one to become a dancer, and the first one to write a book. That is really hard to do. And your parents, now luckily her family kind of supported her, but you may or may not get family support, but you have to believe in your ability to actually go off and do it. And so that's always been, I think it's the world's biggest problem. I think it's still my problem. Like I can believe in everything I've done, but believing the next step is always difficult. And I think that's good, because that means there's always growth. There's always something new to go off and learn and get better and continue down that journey.
So, well, one of the things that comes with not following in like the same path as your parents is a level of uncertainty. So how do you deal with that, like lack of a promise that there's a like real future for you?
It's the self-confidence. It's the self-certainty. Like if you have certainty in the environment around you, then that creates a lot of insecurity. It's the self-certainty that you will figure it out. That even if you haven't done it before, even if it doesn't work out the first time, it's creating that identity for yourself that I'll find a way. I'll find a way. It may not be like all these other people have done it, but I'm going to find a way. And teaching yourself, right? So back to the earlier question about not having enough resources, right? Well, adults have all these resources. We don't have money. Great. I'll find the way. Like it's a great lesson to start to teach yourself that when you come up against a struggle or a problem and you don't know what to do, you have two choices. You give up and you quit and you say, oh, I can't do this because I don't have the resources. Or you say, no, I'll find a way. And the people who win are the ones who tell themselves, I will find a way. And then the lack of certainty in the world doesn't matter as much. Why? Because you'll find a way.
So like, in order to find the way and in order to acquire that confidence, do you have any like tips that you can use? Because it is like a long process. So what are some like steps that you can take to acquire that confidence?
So one, whenever you hear yourself say scary, difficult, or hard, that means you have to do it. If you hear yourself thinking it, if you type it out in a text, if you're telling a friend something out loud and you say scary, difficult, or hard, you have to do it. As long as it's not stupid, right? Like don't jump out of an airplane with no parachute because that's scary, right? I mean, yes, that's scary, but really that's just stupid. Most of the things we're afraid of are other people's opinions, other people's judgment, failing in front of somebody else. We're not even afraid of failing. You're afraid of failing and who notices that you failed. You're afraid of failing in front of somebody. You'll sing in the shower, but you won't sing on the street corner because you're afraid of the judgment, the perspective. So scary, difficult, or hard are no longer good enough reasons for you not to act. This is now a lesson. When you hear those things, now I have to do it just because. So you start teaching yourself that you do the difficult things. And if you can learn that at this age, wow, what a life you're going to have. A second version of that is what I call the boom, boom, boom test, which is your heart. When your heart's going boom, 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 because you're nervous, that's also go time. That means you do it. It's the same thing as scary, difficult, or hard. Just one is language and the other is in your body. So some people process it better when they're feelers and they feel this, and some people are thinkers and they'll hear it through the language. But either way, teaching yourself that you do the difficult things is not just one heroic moment that you ask that guy out and it's this heroic moment, right? It's the daily, right? So it's not like you go to the gym and you just lift 1,000 pounds. You start with a 2-pound dumbbell, or it's not like you go on a diet and in one day you're going to lose 40 pounds. You start by just eating healthy today. It's a habit that you start to build. So when you are afraid to do something, teaching yourself to go off and do it is ultimately how you start building the self-belief and self-confidence.
Well, speaking of something scary, I know that one thing that always scares me is trying to like talk to people who are like in a position of power or hold some sort of authority, like, and that's just kind of a huge part of entrepreneurship. So how do you get over that fear and just reach out to those people who you know that can help you, but you're just afraid to talk to?
Through. Like the answer is through. That you know you're afraid to do it, and so you have to do it. You stop the thinking, because what's going to happen is your brain takes over and your brain's going to find all these reasons why you shouldn't do it. I can't do it because of this and this and this and this and all these reasons why you can't do it. And once your brain takes over, you've lost, because your brain only knows a world that currently exists and you've never done this before. So why do you think you could do it? Well, your heart can create something that's never been done before. And that's why you need to shortcut your brain out of this decision making. You say, I'm afraid to do it. Okay, now I got to do it. Like your next step should be, I need to go message the 10 people that I'm most afraid to talk to. Even if none of them say yes, like even if nobody even sees your DM, they never open it. Or even if they all come back and say, no, I hate you, never message me again, right? Great. Like you can still pat yourself on the back because you did the scary thing. So it's catching the scary thing, not thinking about it anymore, and just taking action. Because if you don't do it, then that will own you for the rest of your life. If you come up against a thing and it's scary and you don't do it, then the next time you're not going to do it. And the next time you just basically teach yourself that you suck. You keep teaching yourself that I can't do it. I can't do it. So then what happens? You've keep telling yourself this story. So that the next time you want to do something else, oh, I can't do that either. And I can't do this either. You have to start, like it starts in these micro moments. So it's great that you've identified what you're afraid of. I'm afraid of asking people who've had some kind of success to do an interview or to connect with them. Great. So now you have to go do that. Like the greatest thing you could do for yourself is to find the 10 to 25 people, and today message them, and even make it a video message, because that's scary too, right? Like, hi, here's what I'm doing. I'd love to interview you. And again, who cares if they see it or not? You did the difficult thing.
Yeah. So like, I want to touch a little bit on failure, because like even when you try things, sometimes a lot of the times there is no result. And how do you deal with the discouragement that comes with that?
You tie your self-worth to the effort, not the results. Just like I said, like if you go and message those 10 to 25 people and all of them ignore you, or all of them write back and say how much you suck, either way, right? Which is not going to happen, right? You're not going to have these people write back and say, I hate you, you suck, never message me. But whatever, like worst case scenario, let's say that happens. I am still patting myself on the back because I did, the scary part was in sending a message. All you can do is control the effort you put in. So I'm putting in the effort to message those 10 to 25 people. You can't control how they're going to react to it. You're not doing it with bad intention. You're not trying to scam them or insult them, or right? So as long as the intention is good, you put it out. And then you're not focused on the result. You're focused on how much effort did you put in, right? So even this, like how many of these interviews have you done?
Well, I haven't really done any interviews with like a professional, so.
Okay, so this is the first one. Great. So hey, listen, even if we're doing this right now, and whatever, you're so nervous, and first off, you did a great job, by the way. This is great. But if you were like super nervous and then you vomited all over your camera, you know, because you're nervous, and then you're like wiping off the camera to clean off the vomit, and then you keep like, even that, if that's me, I'm still like, oh my God, I did it. I'm so scared and I still did it. Pat on the back. Like that's what you need to start tying your self-worth to, not how good a result did I get. Because if, again, every day you show up and you like your next interview, what's going to happen is you're just going to vomit a little inside your mouth and it's not going to come out, you know? And then the next time you're just going to get a little nerves, but you're not going to vomit at all. Right. And so like you keep making, it's that progress that matters. Most people quit on something when they don't get the result, and they're not allowing time for the progress to happen.
So like to get to where you are today is definitely a lifelong journey. So what are some aspects of your teenage years that you believe were the most influential in getting you to where you are today?
What age do we want to go to? Like teenage, we're going 13 to 19. A lot happened between 13 and 19. Where do we want to play?
Probably the high school years, because I think like those are influential.
So in high school, I thought I wanted to be a banker. At the end of high school, in the yearbook, they ask you where you're going to be in 10 years. Where's your life? And I said VP at a bank. Mostly because I liked making money, but I didn't know about entrepreneurship. I'm 40 now, so I'm a lot of years away from being in high school. And we didn't have, people weren't entrepreneurs when I was in high school. You had to be like a terrible student and have no option to go to university to go be an entrepreneur. So I just tried to take as many things that I could that was an interest of my passion when I knew I sucked at stuff. So I sucked at science, for example. I sucked at science. I could never get good grades at science. I don't know. It just didn't sit. So as soon as I could drop science, I did. It was like grade 10. I think it was my last grade in science, and then I was out. Then I started running a biotech software company, by the way. So I was in a scientific software, but I dropped it as soon as I could. I started taking I loved history. I loved economics. The fact that there was a subject called economics was awesome. I loved everything about economics. I tried to, drop math as soon as I could. The math and sciences are not my thing. But I wasn't a good writer either. So I couldn't, English you had to take every year, but I wasn't very good at writing. But I loved junior achievement. So I don't know if you have junior achievement where you were at, but we had 4 years of junior achievement where they came in and you had to run what was called company program. So you could run your own company. The company program is after school. It was grade 9 to graduating class. You met once a week, and you had to elect a team. So you had like 30, 40 kids. Somebody had elections of who's going to be the president and the vice president, all that, and you had to make something. So every Monday night you had to sit there and make something. And so we made these little trinkets, and then you had to go sell them. And it's an opportunity to go be an entrepreneur, and I loved it. In grade 9, I got elected to be VP of production. I won VP production of the year for my area, and where I wasn't doing super well at school, and I was getting B's and C's. I'm not failing out of school, but I was just kind of mediocre or average in grade 9 at studying and at schoolwork. But this thing, I'm blossoming and taking off and blowing up. And so it's exploring, it's tasting, it's trying. If you get an idea for something, try to find a way to get started at it, because those are the seeds of your greatness. Those are the seeds of what you want to do. And looking backwards, it all makes sense. Like, oh, I was great at being an entrepreneur in that company. It's great that now I'm an entrepreneur. That makes sense. But I didn't know going forward. I didn't know, oh my God, in grade 9, I know that I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to do this thing. But if I didn't have exposure to that in high school, I don't know that I would be an entrepreneur right now. So it's saying yes, it's reading more books, it's watching more YouTube videos, it's joining more clubs of the things that you're interested in, to then find out what you can get really good at that maybe you spend the rest of your life doing.
What are some of the ways that, like, you said junior achievement, but like other clubs like this can best be utilized in order to benefit a student's future?
So try it, right? Like if you go to the website, and for junior achievement, I had to even go to a different school because they didn't have it in my school. So I heard about it, and then I don't know if I had to pay. I mean, we had to buy shares in our company, so I guess we all had to put some money in. That's like 30, 40, 50 bucks, something like that. It's not like it's $4,000 to join and you don't have any cash, right? Like 40 bucks, go sell something. You got something sitting around. You like, I would sell the, well, I see the picture on your wall. It says believe. So I like that one, but the other two, like sell it or sell the pillow or sell the, like you can get $40 or that's worst case. Like if your parents can't buy it or you can't find a small part-time job or something, but if you're interested in it, it's worth the shot because it's better to know, even if it ends up sucking, it's better to know and to fail and to move on than to not to know. So, if that was in my school, I would take it, but like sewing class, I wouldn't. But if you see sewing class and it's cost $40, it's like, I want to do this. Like maybe you could be the greatest seamstress of all time, but you don't know until you take the sewing class. So whatever you're drawn to, like if it looks interesting, stop telling yourself that you can't do it. And instead ask yourself, how can I do it? Because it's not that prohibitive to get into. And it's a great lesson you can teach yourself to say yes and to try it.
I read a little bit about your business venture with the like the software company, and I was just wondering like how, like when you had to make that decision between that job and the company, like how were you able to do it? Like what was the process that you went through to make that decision?
So I had learned about Jeff Bezos, and he had what he called a regret minimization framework, which was basically saying, live life with no regrets. And so I asked myself, which will I regret more? Saying no to the job or saying no to the company? And I thought, you know what? I could get another job in a year. It may not be the same company. It may not be as much money. It may not be the same travel, but I could get another kind of similar job in a year if I wanted to. I didn't know if I'd ever get this chance with a company like this again. And so I thought I would regret that more, say no to that more. And so I told myself, you know what? I'm going to give myself a year. Some of my friends were just taking a year off and backpacking or whatever. So I'm going to give myself a year and try to make this company work. And that I would rather know and fail than not know. So I'd start it. It probably won't work out. Most businesses don't work out. But I'd rather know and fail than sit there and be 40 now and say like, oh man, back when I was 19, I wish I did that thing, like that would destroy me. So I said no. And I mean, luckily it all worked out, but even if it didn't, I'd still be happy. Like I've tried lots of stuff since that haven't worked out, but I'm still grateful that I tried so that I'm not sitting there with regret wondering what if. To trust the instincts and just be willing to just not have regrets, not have regrets.
Yeah. Well, how were you able to like balance the company with college?
I tried to make my business around the schoolwork. So I would hack it a lot more than I did. I didn't know, for example, every course that I took, whenever we had projects that we could work on, I always put my business as the project. So like my marketing class, I made it about my business. People had to come up with a fake business. Again, instead of a fake business, how about I use my actual business? I mean, it's not a big business, but it's still a business, so I can use it. I had to go interview, like do market research for my business. So then I actually went to talk to potential customers that I could say I'm doing this study for my class, which was true, but I'm also gaining knowledge for my business. I went to talk to one of my professors who, in my last year, he made a custom course. So there was no coursework. There's no exam. It's just me meeting him every week for an hour talking about pricing strategies that then I use for my own company because I was struggling with that. So like if you're going to you could do a self-directed course as long as a professor signs on to say they'll mentor you. They're like, oh my God, now I have an entire slot open where I don't have to study. I don't have to do an exam. Right? That's genius. I would tap into the alumni network. I didn't do this. I didn't think about it, but whatever school you're going to, people love wherever they came from. Whatever school you join, there's a big alumni network. You could message, like find out who has gone to that school. So I went to University of Toronto.